Welcome back everyone. We're now going to go over to this week's special feature, Ask the Experts.
You've been getting in touch with us in your droves asking for tips from the experts, so we thought we'd address some of them today. And who better to ask than Gareth the Nugget Jones, especially after his 3 wins on battleships. Gareth, we've had some questions and we'd like your advice, please.
Oh, yeah.
First question is, I have a bankroll of £500. What cash game should I be playing online?
Well, I think the important thing is for people that are just starting off is to not play too big. You must really make sure that you're playing at a level where you feel comfortable. So I would recommend that if you've got a £500 bankroll, start off in a smallish game, 25, 50 cents or 51, and just take it easy early on and just feel your way through it really. Don't play in a game too big for you, because obviously if you put all your money up in the first couple of days and you lose it, you become disenchanted, and it's much better to sort of build up slowly and try and get a few wins under your belt, get a bit of confidence up and start slowly and build up to sort of high levels as you become more comfortable.
So if you're starting off at £500 and you're playing in your small levels, about how much of your stack do you need to increase on your stack before you should think about moving up to the next level?
Well, what I think is a nice idea is to be playing with winnings, with profit.
Yes.
And if you sit in a small game and pull up maybe 50 quid of your 500 or whatever, that gives you 10 chances to sort of obviously make a profit.
Yes.
And the ideal scenario is obviously to build that 500 maybe up to £1,000 at a smaller level, and then go up one level where you can hopefully win a bit bigger. So, you know, just take it nice and steady. Don't put all your bankroll up on the first day and the first table, get a bad beat and all of a sudden you've lost your bankroll. It's much better to build it slowly up to sort of £1,000 and then move up if you feel comfortable moving up to a high level.
I wish I'd asked you that when I started playing. Right, next question. I play tournaments regularly online. I'm going to play live now in my local casino. Any tips or advice on the step into the live game?
I think what's important when you go to a live game is that, unlike the internet where you don't get a lot of tells or you don't get a lot of reads on players, I think what's nice to do if you go to a regular casino like I do in Blackpool, yes, I know all the players, I know all their games, I know when they've got a good hand, when they haven't, you know, their body language, and it's nice to, if you're going to start playing live, to build up a track record of the players that you're playing against.
Yes.
So in other words, know who the loose cannons are and know who the rocks are, and build yourself up a nice little history of the players you're playing with, and start off small again, play in the smaller tournaments each week in the casino, build up a track record of the players you're playing with, and then your confidence will grow as you sort of become to learn a bit about all the players that you're playing against.
Do you find that players tend to go in almost boxes of types of players?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're playing, after a while, you'll get a category of player that you'll know that he's a guy I'm going to gamble with because he's at it half the time,
yes,
and this is a guy when he makes a raise, I've got to have a big hand here because I know that he doesn't bluff. Yes. And I know that he's going to have a good starting hand, and if he's re-raising me, you know, I know that he's a solid player, and I might be a bit cautious there. So when you're playing online, you don't know who you're playing against, unless you play with them regularly and make notes, which is another good tip. You know, on a live casino scenario, you'll see and meet the players and get to know them, and as I say, I have a track record in my mind of every player I've played live poker with in England, and you tend to sort of fall back on any sort of previous encounters and watching their game and keeping a view on what hands they turn over and when they win and lose hands, and you just can get a feel of the history of, you know, what sort of player, like you say, they are. So that's a great thing to sort of build a track record up of the players that you're playing against, and start small again, try and become successful at the smaller level, and then you can build up to playing the bigger tournaments where hopefully you can, you know, become better and better as you become more experienced.
Right. Right, let's move on to the next question. The question is, in the late stages of a tournament, should I slow play my big hands and try and get them paid off?
I'm a big fan of never giving anybody a free card. I tend to never slow roll aces. I tend to try and protect my hand by raising and not letting the blind see a free flop, for instance. So you can flat call with aces, give the big blind a free flop, and he flops 2 pair, and all of a sudden you're out of the tournament.
Yes.
So my recommendation and the way I feel that is best to play is to always protect your hand, and if you've got the best hand, get the money in the middle. Make them pay to outdraw you. Don't give them a free flop. Don't let them beat your aces with 7-2 and it comes 7-2-2.
Yes.
So no, I wouldn't slow roll unless I'm in a table where there's a real lively loose player that I feel's raising all the time, which we do have in Blackpool, quite a few players like that. And if I've got a really big hand and I know that they're tilting a bit or they're a bit short in chips, I might risk flat calling to re-raise them because I feel I'm going to trap them and catch them. But my general rule, I would always protect my hand, and always, if I feel I've got the best hand, I want to bet the pot, or I want to pressure the other players into outdrawing me, because I think if you've got the best hand and the money goes in, you can't ask for any more than that. You're then in the lap of the gods, whether you hold on or not. But I think it's important to protect your hand and maximise, you know, the chips into the middle when you've got the best hand, and I think that's the best advice I can give.
So basically, if you've got, say, pocket aces and you put your money in and everyone folds, instead of thinking, damn, I've only won the blinds, think, yes, I haven't lost any money on it and I've gained.
Exactly. Imagine how you feel if you sort of slow rolled them and if somebody flops 2 pair and they go all in and you call them because you think you've got the best hand with aces and you lose half your stack. Now your aces have turned into a hand that's lost you a lot of money, whereas at least if you win the blinds, you haven't lost anything. You picked up the blinds, and if you do get a call, you know, at the end of the day, you've got the best hand, haven't you? So I would recommend you don't slow play hands. I would always, you know, raise the pot with the best hand. That's so
don't be greedy with your pocket aces. Right, now then, what's the difference between pot limit and no limit hold'em, and any strategy advice that you can give on the 2 games?
From a beginner's point of view, there is quite a difference between pot limit and no limit, and I think that differential in the games becomes narrower as you become more experienced and more, shall we say, professional at the game. I happen to enjoy both games. They're slightly different strategies. It's like playing golf and tennis. There's 2 different ways of playing it. In no limit, you can protect your hand a lot more. You can actually make an over pot size raise to protect your hand, whereas in pot limit, of course, you can only raise the pot. So you might get aces in first position and only can raise 125 and they all limp in behind and you've not protected your hand. So it's a slightly different animal, although you know, you can adapt your game to play both equally as well, and I'm sure some players prefer no limit, but each game has its own idiosyncrasies, shall we say, and at the end of the day, you know, no limit is the, you know, the beauty of the game, but pot limit, I feel, has got certain skill levels as well that, you know, anybody can, you know, use to their advantage. So there is a subtle difference, but if you're a good player, don't, you know, beat about the bush. If you're a good player, you can play no limit or pot limit.
Excellent. Well, just have one last quick question then, and that's, should I play freeze-out tournaments as a beginner or try my hand at buy-in events?
Well, I'm a big fan of buy-in events because I think the good thing about buy-in events is that if players are playing loose and buying in a lot, they're making the prize money a lot more. So obviously you can win a bigger prize. But the general sort of theory regarding freeze-outs is a good thing in terms of money management, in that if you're a beginner and you're just starting to play, you're playing a freeze-out, you know it's only costing you £30 or whatever the freeze-out amount is, so you're limiting like your damage limitation in regards to getting involved in a really lively table and having 20 buy-ins or something, whatever. So really a freeze-out is a good strategy for a beginner because you know how much it's going to cost you, you know where you stand, it's a level playing field. I mean, in a rebuy event, somebody that has lots of money and lots of rebuys has got an advantage over you because he's going to keep rebuying until he gets chips.
Excellent.
So it's a level playing field when it's a freeze-out, and it's a good start for a beginner because you know how much it's going to cost you, and you know there's no advantage to the player that buys in and has a lot of money. So
that's super. Thank you, Gareth.
Pleasure.
I hope that's answered some of your questions too. Don't forget, if you do have any queries, go to the website, go to Ask the Expert, and we'll answer your questions online for you.